to start by taping off this section right here to where we're going to make the marks to drill and cut out the opening. So what I want to do first is, because of the nature of this material being so slick, I'm going to use a little bit of general purpose adhesive cleaner. It'll be fine for this material, it won't hurt it, just to take anything off this side to allow a better adhesive property for the tape to stick to this. I would not suggest using brake clean, as I know a lot of us that have shops just like to, go grab a can of brake clean. But with this being plastic, I would highly, highly, highly encourage you resist the urge to use brake clean. So give it a good wipe down with just a typical shop rag. Take another one and let's just go ahead and dry this up. The good thing about this is, much like brake clean, it dries super, super quick. So I'm going to take some masking tape and we're going to mask off this area right here. As you can see, like I said earlier, you got your mounting holes here, which are here, so correlation for these holes are going to be a little bit further down. So let's just go ahead and get some masking tape here, just to the edge of that hole. Just kind of work it nice and into that, because that's got a nice contour to it. So all right, and just like that, we have the area masked off that I wanted. Like I said, just take your time. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but you'll see why I'm having you tape this off in just a minute. So let's go ahead, set these aside for right now, and turn our focus to the crash bars themselves. With the crash bars, what I want to do is we're going to, again, also apply some painter's tape on here, and also just make sure you don't cover up both holes. Just go around the crash bar. Doesn't have to be anything super fancy. You're gonna have to fight the contour of this a little bit. Just kind of make sure you get nice and around it where that opening is, and just make sure you do your best to not cover up those holes. So let's get both of these done. And don't worry if you get any tape over the hole. It's painter's tape. You can literally push it in, but you got the hole here. Just take one of the bolts that came with your package and just ensure your holes are open. So now what I like to do is we're going to go ahead, get some zip ties. They don't have to be anything fancy, and some Sharpies. Now what I like to do is, because with zip ties, they'll follow the contour of the bar really well. So what I do is I take these zip ties, go right to the edge of this opening, right on both sides as you can see, and then I go ahead and I just pull them nice and tight, just like that. And what you're going to do here is now take your Sharpie, and because we're on the inside here, follow your zip tie all the way around the bar, leaving a nice line that now shows us exactly where this opening is in correlation all the way around the bar. And you'll see why I like to do this once we get it on the enclosure itself. So repeat that step on both of these. Then what we're going to go ahead and do is just cut the zip ties, unfortunately. Yes, you now have wasted 4 zip ties, but I'd much rather waste a couple cents versus ruining these enclosures or being off on the holes that much. So now what I like to do is we're going to go ahead and take this, grab the corresponding enclosure to the lower, and go ahead and install them. Again, this is a 4mm Allen and an 11mm ratchet. You can use a ratchet, you can use a socket, whatever fits your fancy. Just gonna go ahead and tighten these down. Doesn't have to be 100%, torqued down or anything. This is just, right now, we're just trying to get these to fit where we want them. Get them nice and lined up so they fit the contour as tight as we can get them. Then we'll go ahead and tighten these up. Okay. And now what you can see here is those two lines that we made. This now tells us where the inside of our opening needs to be. So what I like to do here is you can take your Sharpie. You can either use a standard Sharpie, or I have this fine point Sharpie. Let's get it open. It's got a nice fine tip on it. What you want to do is you want to get it in here to where you can leave a mark on both tapes. Because what's that's going to do is now give us a reference point to measure down into. You can use that, and then we'll actually grab the other Sharpie just to give us even more chances. So I don't know if you can really see it, but there we go. We're just going to color in here, hopefully grab both sides, and then what I do here is I put a vertical mark. So as you can see, vertical mark matches, and then let's do same thing here, get down as far as we can, translate it, and then grab that vertical mark the best we can. So here it is here. This one we were a little off. So we've marked a line on both sides, so there's in between the sections of where that hole is going to be, and now we have a good reference point. So let me repeat that on the other side, and then we'll disassemble these and start making some holes. This is the perfect example of why you do not just go tightening them down super hard before you've adjusted them, because now I'm a little too far off. So give it a little bit of a loosen here. There we go. You just want to get these nice and down in here, close up this gapping the best we can. Now with our lines marked, let's go ahead and get these separated so we can get these measurements and get some holes cut in them. Now the biggest thing you always have to remember is that you keep them correlated to which crash bar goes to which enclosure. So here, as you can see, we have a nice line, and we now have some nice lines on where the opening and the width is going to be. So for here, let me grab a tape measure real quick. So for this, I like to use just like a thin tape measure. So not one of your super thick Fat Maxes or anything like that. And you just kind of put it in here. And you're gonna line up your two slits, let it get to that contour. So then there, we're gonna have that rough opening. And then what I like to do from here, we can get this to stand up, is we're going to measure with the tape measure these lines to the opening. So for example, on the top of this from our line, which is roughly there, we're about 3/16 of an inch. So I always like to go a little bit more just in case. So we're gonna go, we'll go 3/16 down, then rotate the bar, and we were way up here with that mark on the top one. So here, we're about a whole inch, and we go down to 7/8. So with that being said, let's go on this. So we're gonna start with a 7/8. Hopefully y'all can see this. So here, you're gonna kind of just fit this in here. And you go down. I'm gonna mark 7/8. I think that'll give us a pretty good starting point. 7/8, and then we said 3/16 on the other side. And draw you a nice line. So just to double check, what I like to do too is we're gonna take a measurement from the edge of the hole to the opening of this, which we're looking at about 3/4. So from here to here, we're roughly just under 3/4, which I am okay with because I'd rather open the opening up. We're actually right about, almost right on 3/4. And then this opening, roughly a 1/2 inch. And then we've got roughly a 1/2 inch here. And then length, we have a 1 inch opening. And here, okay, so we're a little shy on the opening. We're about 3/4 of an inch on the opening. So what that means is what we'll do is when we go to make this hole, I will put the drill bit here so that way it'll round off these edges. So actually what we're going to do is if we are close to a 1/2 inch, put your tape measure back in here. What I like to do is go ahead and mark where our 1/4 is, which is right here in the middle. So what we'll do is we'll take a drill bit where these two spots are because it's halfway. And because we were slightly under, we're at 3/4 here and this opening is 1 inch edge to edge. What we'll do is we'll drill a hole here and we'll slightly start opening it with the drill bit so it'll give us a nice round edge here and here, and we'll connect them here in the middle to give us that nice opening. So let's go ahead and do what we did here to that one, and then we'll go grab the drill and the tools that we need. We'll make these openings, clean them up, and give them a test fit. Now what I like to use for this part is just a small typical drill and then a handheld Dremel. I just like the one from Milwaukee, and then you can get the bit for it so that way it'll cut nice and neat in there. So how I usually get this started is we're going to start with a small 1/8 inch drill bit, and we are going to hit those outer holes like I had talked about before. The good part about this is we can then put it back on the crash bar and poke through and see how well we are. So now we can line it up with that hole, poke through, and we should be, yep, just what I was hoping for. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly upsize this bit for a much larger, I think we'll probably go up to 1/4 inch. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we will get back to it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a razor knife. I use an Alpha knife. You can use any razor blade, you don't have to, but I'm going to mark right on the edge of this tape where I want to make the final cut, because this will score it as we're gonna have to pull this tape off and we won't be able to see that line anymore, obviously. So let's take this tape off. And I don't know if it's gonna show up very well in the video, but there's 2 score marks right there. And what I like to do is I'm gonna go ahead and use this Dremel tool right here through this hole, and you can very slowly go through. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, as you can see, we have a nice elongated opening. Might be a little bit big, and it is rough at the current moment. Obviously, we'll get in there and we'll clean it up with a sander a little bit more. We're pretty darn close. The opening was just a little off on one side. What we will do is we will clean that up. We just got to clean up this corner and this corner right here, and we'll be right spot on where we need it to be. So let's go ahead and do the same on this one. And then we'll probably use a file, clean that up with a nice file, get the edges all nice and neat and cleaned up and get them bolted up on here again for a final test. But let's go ahead and get this one done. We'll be good to go. Now that we got the hole cut out, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get this back on this bar so I can see where I want to clean it up, because we were a little off, not much at all, but I still want to clean it up just a little bit. Yeah, something like that. We'll get this file, we'll get it filed down, get a nice clean fit, and then this one will be good to go. Standard files, this is a flat with a round, 2 flats, and then a round. Just whatever you have that'll allow you to get in here really well. So let's see if we can't get these tools out of the way.
A few inches later.
So for me, I just like to give it a nice little bit of a bevel going into it. Not that it really matters all that much, just kind of a nice little finishing touch for myself. Like I said, personal preference. Oh, so slightly off, as you can see. We were a little off on the one side, but that gives you a really good opening there. So we will try to get a little bit tighter on the next one, but that's going to do really well. Easy access for the wire, so we'll repeat the process for the other one. We'll get these cleaned up, and then we'll go ahead and install them on the bike. A nice clean hole. It's there. We're where we need to be, so let's go ahead and get these cleaned up, tape cleaned up, and get them installed on the bike. All right, now we are going to start getting these crash bars installed. So the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously get your bike set up to where I prefer when it's standing up vertically. That's why I'm using a motorcycle jack. I just got mine from Harbor Freight. Sits underneath the bike, holds it up nice and upright. You can do this on its side with a kickstand. Just personal preference at this point, really. So what you have to start with is by taking a 8mm Allen on a socket. I prefer a longer one because there is 2 bolts right here for the floorboard. We want to get the floorboard up out of the way because one mounting point is here and the other point is here, and that's where you're going to use those bolts I told you about earlier to get. So you're going to start here, just get loose. Now with both bolts done, I just like to rest mine up out of the way. And then what you're going to do is grab your crash bar. You're going to set it here and here. Take your shorter bolt. You can go ahead and start it in the bottom hole. The longer of the 2 bolts goes through your spacer. And then from here, it's just a matter of tightening them up. On this, I do prefer to put a decent size extension on it just because I want to stay further away from the bike. All right, and now with those tight, let's go ahead and grab our first lower enclosure and let's go ahead and get it installed. I'm gonna do a quick wipe down and then we'll go ahead and do that. Hey, oh, I'm filming a video, so hold it. And then what I like to do is just go ahead and give this a nice little hack. I like to just use a little Sawzall. So let's go ahead and do that and get this nice and cut up. Now let's go ahead and get the back. Now this is where you're gonna take your 3 screws in your cap, and you are just going to set it on just like this. And then from the inside, you're gonna go ahead and just screw it on. And lastly, what we are going to do is we're gonna go ahead and get the floorboard put back on. And just like that, we have the left side enclosure on here. And if you can see, we have our center bolt that holds it to the actual crash bar, the 3 bolts for the enclosure. And then right there, I might have to get some better lighting in here, but we got our opening. You'll be able to push the wire right on through. So overall, I think they look really well. Obvious when you go to put these back in here for the final time, put some thread locker on there to keep those on there nice and tight. So this side's done. Let's go ahead and get over to the other side and get those on there as well. We'll do that real quick. And just like that, we have completed the installation of our Dirty Bird Concepts 8-inch hard lowers. Well, we did, but they're not on the bike anymore because they've gone to paint, they're not matched. But if you've been paying attention, which you should be, 3 videos ago, we tore both our shop bikes down to go to powder coat. So our crash bars are a powder coat. So hopefully in the next couple videos you'll see the reveal of what color it is and us reassembling it. And some following videos we'll be putting our pre-modified, pre-painted Dirty Bird hard lowers on our bikes, both shop bikes. So Challenger and Chieftain. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been informative. I hope it helps you make the decision whether you want to stick with the Indian OEM hard lowers, which come on the Pursuit, which allow you to do a 5¼ inch speaker, or if you want to go bigger, because bigger is always better.
That's what she said.
Then go with the Dirty Bird Concept 8-inch lowers, hard lowers. If you're already sitting there like, well, I already purchased crash bars, guess what? Sell them, put the money towards the new ones, and buy them from me. Just kidding. Whoever you want to buy them from, but get them for your bike, get some big speakers put in there, get out there, enjoy your tunes while riding, get loud. And with that, really appreciate it. Hope you guys, please do me the favor of liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Hit the little bell somewhere down here so you get notified when we do the next video, because we actually have 2 giveaways going on. Hopefully people are staying to the end of the video. 500 subscribers, we are giving away a Eagle LED headlight of your choice. So when we hit 500 subscribers, we find you, figure out which one you want, and we ship it to you. And at 1,000 subscribers, we're gonna be doing another giveaway. If you paid attention to 2 videos ago, when I did the interview with Gary Savage at Braille Lithium, then you'll know we are a Braille Lithium dealer and a big fan of their batteries. So I'm gonna be bold, in 1,000 subscribers, I will be giving away a G14 LS combo, which will come with the lithium battery and their charger on me. So hope us get to 1,000 subscribers, so that way one lucky subscriber can get a battery combo, the battery combo full free on us for your Challenger or your Chieftain. So thank you again, Brandon Davidson with Davidson Audio. We're out.